Hello students, this is a video guide for a visual analysis, and the first thing you need to do is to pull up a couple of documents. You will find everything that you need in the Content tab, the Visual Analysis folder. So once you've opened that folder, here are some links to some presentations and some documents that will help you with several assignments. The first one that you need to review is the Visual Analysis Optic. Optic is a strategy for analyzing visuals. And then you also need to look at the main questions for analyzing rhetoric. Okay, and let me review those real quickly for you. The Optic. Each letter stands for something, and so like the O is the overview. You would just write a brief overview of the image in one sentence. What is the image about? P are the different parts, and this is critical. You have to divide the image into its various parts and analyze each part. Sometimes the image is separated by color or by line or by shape, and that's the easiest way to divide it. Start with a focal point, then where does your eye go next, and then when does your eye go again, and that would be a very helpful way to organize an essay. The T stands for title. If your image happens to have a title, I would consider the title. What does it mean? What does it suggest about the image? Does it offer any insight into the subject? I is interrelationships, and that is how everything connects together. How do the parts come together to create mood? C is a conclusion. It is where you would analyze the image as a whole. Some of the questions that you would try to answer is what's the point? What is the point of the image? What does the artist want the viewers to understand about the topic? What is the primary purpose? And again, these are critical questions that you need to answer in an analysis. What is the artist's attitude? How does he feel about his subject? Do we trust him? Is he credible? And how do we know he's credible? Has he manipulated the image in some way just to achieve his purpose, to manipulate the viewers in a way? Those are the different questions that you need to try to answer as you're analyzing images. And emotion. What is the emotion that he is trying to capture with his image, and how is he trying to make his viewer feel? Okay, who is the audience? Now, if you scroll down on this document, you will find some terms that you need to know or understand. And the main terms are focal point. Again, where does your eye go first? That's the best starting place for analysis. Okay, here's some questions that you can try to answer. Some other important terms would be line, because line is what helps move your eye across an image. Okay, the shape and texture. These are just the technical terms, and it's helpful when you are analyzing an image to be familiar with these terms. Okay, and here's some more principles about balance and movement and repetition. Now, let me show you another document that you need to consider. This one is the main questions for analyzing rhetoric. I know we're analyzing a image, but you are still going to analyze it rhetorically, and so you have to answer these 5 questions. These are the same questions that are in the conclusion of Optic. Okay, it's just broken down. And then finally, this document, Elements of Rhetorical Analysis. This is a handy document because it has purpose verbs. So if you're trying to discuss the artist's purpose and you're just struggling to find the perfect word, you can come here. And these verbs, this page of notes may help you. Also, the notes has the different types of tone words, and so if you're trying to depict either the artist's attitude about his topic, you can look on this document, or if you're trying to describe the mood that the image creates, these tone words will help you with that as well. Okay, the title of this document is called Elements of Rhetorical Analysis. Okay, so you have the tone words, and again, it has the 5 questions for analyzing rhetoric, but it's broken them down into smaller questions. For example, here's a question: is how does the artist, or in this case, it says author, convince the readers he's credible, but for the purpose of this assignment, you would say, how does the artist convince the viewers that he or she is credible? And here's some questions. Has he done his homework? Does he have good intentions? That's key. And so the images that we'll look at today are from social activists. And so generally speaking, those artists do have good intentions. They're trying to change policies, and that's what you need to consider. Emotions, how does he want us to feel? Okay, and so these are questions that are relevant to analyzing text or images. Now, once you've reviewed those documents, then you can analyze the Prezi. And it is right here, Visual Analysis Prezi. There's several images, and they're paired images, and you will compare and contrast 2 of them for your discussion board. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's the presentation, and again, here are the questions you need to try to consider. What do you see? How does it make you feel? What is the purpose, and do you trust the artist? Okay, I am going to show you just a couple of images and discuss them. This first one is called The Problem We All Live With by Norman Rockwell, and it's based on a true event. And when you analyze this image, probably the first thing you notice is the little girl. Okay, your eye, she's the focal point. That's what I would start with in an analysis. You have the girl. She is dressed all in white. Her shoes are white, her socks are white, her dress is white. She has a ribbon in her hair. This is all white. And so that is something you could discuss. Why is she wearing white? And typically white symbolizes purity or innocence. And then look, the line of her, she's standing erect and proud. Okay, she has her school supplies here, and you have this line going across horizontally. And again, you have this line right here dividing this image in half almost. And so perhaps your eye would start with her, and then it would move across. Okay, and you see here, this splash of red where the tomato was thrown against this yellow wall. And so that's where your eye moves next. And you would talk about this color. What does it symbolize or indicate? Once you have that, your eye maybe moves across this way, back again, where you have this derogatory word on the wall. Okay, and then it moves over here where it says KKK, and you have her guards. Oops, you have the marshals, the U.S. Marshals, who are protecting her and trying to take her to school. Again, we don't even see their heads. They're not very important in this image. They're there to protect her and shield her and get her to school. Okay, and so once you've analyzed that, you can compare it to this other image right here. This is the actual historical photograph taken by Will Counts in his Target for Intolerance series. And you have the young lady. She's older. Why did Rockwell depict her as a younger child? That's a question that we need to consider and answer. Here she is again, dressed in white. She has glasses on though, and you have to decide what's the focal point. When you first look at this image, do you see the young lady here, or do you see this one? And focus in on her face. Such hatred and disgust of her face directed towards the student. Okay. So those are 2 images that you can compare. Okay, and there's several groupings. This deals with civil rights. This group of photographs or images address civil rights. Here's another image by Bruce Davidson at a cafe. You have the line here. And what's your focal point? Does your eye start here with her face and then move to the other lady at the counter? Okay, and again, if you were to analyze this, you would have to talk about what is the photographer's purpose? What is he trying to do for the reader? How's he trying to make us feel? Do we trust him? What's the context of the image, the time period, the social issues that are going on at the time? Those are the questions you need to try and answer in your analysis. Okay, there's several paired images in here. This is an image from a painting from the 1700s. A boy asleep over his book. You could easily compare that to this image. Stephen Shames documented child poverty, and this is two, they're both images address education, and yet the Shames photograph also addresses poverty, has a different tone. All these kids are gathered around a table with an oil lamp, just trying to do their homework. And so, where's the focal point? What's the artist trying to do for us? Okay. Here's an image that addresses child labor. It's a painting. And this pairs nicely with a photograph of Lewis Hine, who documented child labor issues in the 1900s. Okay. Then we have a painting. It's satirical. Powell has all these satirical images, and this is about pollution, obviously. And where does your eye start? Where does it go? What's the purpose? Again, just consider all those rhetorical analysis questions. Here's a photograph, something very similar, by some artists for Greenpeace, trying to document the pollution in China. Okay, Diego Rivera. This is a mural. It actually covers a building, and it was criticizing the Ford factory, how poorly it's treating the workers. Okay, and that would pair nicely with this image of these guys who are working on the Empire State Building, constructing it, and they're just hanging out. It's dangerous. Okay, we have a mother and child, or her children rather. This image is quite different from this one. Dorothea Lange painted the Migrant Mother series, or took photographs of the Migrant Mother, so those would be nice to compare. And then finally, these are two images that address homelessness. You have Kennington, and then here we have Mark. And this is a family living in their car. And so the first thing to do is to decide which two images you would like to compare and contrast. And then you will post your analysis in the discussion board. Okay, I'll show you that real briefly. The first post you'll find right here, discussion board. And it's Prezi's Analyzing Visuals 2. And just read the, let me go back. Read the requirements very carefully to make sure that you do exactly what you need to do. It says first, introduce yourself, give us some background information about you, whatever it is you're willing to share. And then you'll select two images from the Prezi, and you respond by analyzing the artist's purpose in each. Okay, how does he convey his purpose? Who's the audience? What's the context? What are some of the elements of design and rhetorical strategies? Basically, try to answer the questions of rhetoric, the 5 main questions of rhetoric. It says that each response, so you'll have 2 responses, one for each image. Each response must be 200 words minimum, and then you must respond to 2 of your peers. Okay? And please make sure your peer responses offer insight, not just, the vague, superficial, good job. So point out what you noticed or about his or her response, and maybe offer some suggestions. And finally, even though it's a discussion board, please make sure the language stays formal.